Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 8th anniversary?
Seventh anniversary.
7th anniversary.
The 7th anniversary director's commentary for Red vs. Blue Season 1 Remastered
Extra special edition times 2.
++.
Do you remember a single thing about filming season 1 of Red vs. Blue?
I do.
So long ago.
I remember being tired every Friday.
Yeah.
Because in Season 1, the videos came out on Friday, so Thursday night was the all-night night.
Should we introduce ourselves or say who's here?
Sure. I was going to wait for my character to pop up, but I guess that's what I do that.
You have that luxury.
I am Bernie Burns. Look, good timing with Church right there. I play Church, and I was the writer and director of Season 1.
Hey, I'm Joel Heyman. I'm Caboose. Yay.
What?
Yay.
Yay. I'm Jeff Ramsey. Previously, Jeff Fink, I believe I was when we made this, and I'm the other guy working on season 1.
And also Griff.
Also, oh yeah, I did that too.
There's Sarge, so I'm going to jump in. This is Matt Hullum. I play Sarge.
And this is Gus Sorolla, the saved the best for last, do the voice of Simmons. I was the resident Puerto Rican when we filmed season 1.
You know, Matt, you redid these credits at some point, too. These are from what?
This is actually, we made these credits, I think, at the beginning of season 3. Is that right? It's either season 3 or season 4.
Right.
I think it was 3.
And it was actually our first time using Halo CE to do anything, I think, right?
Yeah. And see,
First Halo CE project.
That shot right there, the first shot of the entire series, is a lot different in Halo CE than it was in Halo Xbox, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Did you say those credits were the first time we did Halo CE?
I think so.
Because
Isn't
that's
that right?
incorrect. We used Halo CE in season 2.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, for
Oh, you're right. We did. I forgot
Yeah.
for some of that O'Malley stuff
Yeah.
or whatever, right? Yeah. But we'll cover that on the next corrected audio commentary.
Joel's totally cracking up for some reason.
Yeah, Joel, what's funny?
Nothing. We actually went through and we reshot everything. I remember it took me a year because we reshot basically everything. And as I was going through I remember as I'm looking at the scene, I remember calling out for help as I would so many times. And Gus was the man. Gus was the guy who helped mostly with a lot of this shit.
That is a funny story. I can see why you interrupted.
But it took us 3 months to shoot.
No, I'm totally imprinted when I see this now or whatever.
Joel had just started full time at the office, so we thought, what is the absolute worst job that we can give him, other than taking out the trash and cleaning the bathroom, which
Or
he was
in
already
addition
doing.
to taking out the trash.
That's right. And apparently that was recreating season 1.
Yeah, shot for shot.
Shot for shot in a new engine.
See, the reason why this was remastered is that when we originally shot Red vs. Blue Season 1, we used the retail version of the Xbox Halo Combat Evolved. Which is interesting that the Halo Custom Edition has the same initials as Halo Combat Evolved.
That is very interesting.
But we went back after they released the Halo PC version. We were able to get much higher resolution, and then more importantly, we were able to use the entire screen because the Custom Edition has a camera that you can break out away from the characters and then film everything in full screen. Whereas the actual original DVD for Red vs. Blue Season 1 had a aspect ratio that was like 335 to 1.
Yeah, it was the world's most narrow aspect ratio.
It was like super letterboxed.
I wouldn't say it's the world's most narrow. I'd say it's the world's most wide screen. Technology's still
right.
struggling to catch up with a screen that wide to meet our vision.
If you
It's
put
extreme Cinerama Dome.
we had to compromise and reshoot everything to match current technology.
Yeah, if you put two widescreen TVs like side by side, you could have watched it in full frame, I guess.
What did you think was the best or the easiest to shoot in? Do you think like Halo 2, Halo 1, Halo CE,
Halo 3?
Halo 3?
You think so? I'm gonna say Halo. I'm gonna say Halo 1.
Easiest to shoot in?
Yeah,
Oh, I disagree
because
completely.
for two reasons. One is the turning issue from Halo 2 really complicates things in Halo 2, and then in Halo 3, you don't know what you got until you go into theater mode, and so you end up going back. Just for knocking out videos straight up, Halo 1 is probably the easiest. Not the best. I mean, they've obviously made huge improvements in the game over that time, and our Halo 3 videos look better, but they take longer to make.
I would counter that head bobbing in Halo 1 is a lot harder than in
I think
the
it's a
other
lot.
two games.
Well, you
funny
guys
'cause I think it
didn't
was
do
a lot
any head
easier.
bobbing in Halo 1 from what I remember.
What's that?
You know what we should do? People should go back and look at... I think we're going to put up a split screen or something, a picture-in-picture at some point on this
Absolutely.
disc. Because like if you go back and look at the early season 1 Halo 1 videos, there's hardly any head bobbing at all. It's very light compared.
It's the first like 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah, it's very light compared to what like the style that you and Bernie eventually ended up with as you progressed.
And I went overkill. I definitely overbobbed, and probably a lot of it. But it was like mouse based. It's funny that you said that because to me, like head bobbing in Halo CE is much easier.
Oh, I think it's the worst. Trying to use the mouse.
Yeah,
It just looks herky jerky.
I really hate using the mouse. Anytime I would help Joel shoot, I'd always insist that we plug in that Xbox controller into the PC.
Yeah, you can
to
use
try
an
to recreate
Xbox
that.
controller to do it.
Yeah.
Gus was trying to do the head bobs with command line interface, which I thought was overkill.
Yeah, I logged in remotely via Telnet into the computer and was hitting my arrow keys.
But I always wanted to, when we looked at that, there was just no way to get a full frame, fill up the entire screen with it. And we've actually shown season 1 theatrically a couple different places.
Yeah.
And it
on,
was
on pretty big screens too.
We've shown it
showed
on
it
an
on-
IMAX before.
Yeah, we showed it on
Yeah,
IMAX in San
that's
Jose,
right.
actually.
Yeah.
Twice, I think.
Yeah.
So it was basically
It looked like Pong.
1 pixel per foot or something.
It was
like
literally
that.
red versus blue. You just saw shades of red and blue interacting.
And so it's always it's cool that now we go back and we're able to have the original graphics, but be able to show them the way they should look. The way this looks like you remember how Halo was.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
And if you go back and look at the original season of Red vs. Blue, it's not what you remember really. It's like it's the way it really was, but it's not what your memory has. At least not what my memory of the game was.
Yeah, same here.
But it's nice to be able now we can intercut footage with later seasons, and it doesn't drop the letterbox in to take up 50% of the screen when you're all done.
Well, we did make a conscious decision though, even though we knew we were going to embark on this project of redoing these, remastering them, I guess is what we're calling it, not to change anything about the audio.
Right.
And I think that's important because, like, Red versus Blue has always been like much more about the dialogue and about the humor coming from the interactions between the characters, and the visuals are great, but it's kind of secondary to the humor that is derived from just these guys talking to each other.
Seems like it wouldn't be season 1 anymore
Yeah.
if you changed.
I think that also actually made reshooting a little more difficult because in reshooting, since we had the original audio, we had to time explosions that we reshot with the original audio explosions and gunfire and things like that. So you'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, that grenade exploded a little too early. It doesn't
Yeah.
sound right with the audio. Let's shoot it again.
Well,
Yeah.
when we first got CE, when Halo PC came out, we reshot episode 1 as a test. I don't
That's
know if
right.
You guys remember that? And we redid the audio too, and it was weird. Like
It was
did
really
not
weird.
feel the same. We couldn't match our lines.
And it came out much faster, I remember too. Like
Well, I think
our timing, like our comic timing has changed.
I think we would
evolved.
all like to go back and cut some of those dead spaces down in season 1
Yeah, season 1 is definitely a little bit slower than
for sure.
previous seasons, but it's you don't want to mess with the
what worked.
the classic nature. And even when we talk about we reshot this, it's literally a shot by shot remake.
Yeah.
Virtually 90%, 95%.
Even in-
There was a lot of scenes in there where
Some things
the
some things you can't recreate.
true, and
Yeah.
also
With the aspect ratio changing as much as it did, there's going to be times where two characters are a certain distance apart from each other that you could include both of them on the screen in the much wider aspect of the old one when you really couldn't in this version, or you had to get them slightly closer together or different things like that.
Or the warthog bouncing up on top of the base. It's impossible
Yeah.
to get that exactly
Right.
the same.
Yeah. That is the interesting thing about machinima in general, is that, a lot of people who don't know anything about it come into it think that it's basically the same thing as animation, and that you can just recreate the same thing over and over and over again, whereas you can in animation where you're just plotting out every single frame. But, with using a video game engine, doing machinima, it's really more like live action, and you're never going to be able to recreate those action sequences or those even the specific details of a complicated head bob on a long line of dialogue the same way you would have before. It's going to be slightly different every
It's a
single
live
time.
performance.
It's a live performance, yeah.
It's fun to try though. Like specifically standing Sheila up again and flipping the
yeah.
warthog up on the base. I remember when it was time for Joel to go back and do those, helping him out. It was actually a blast getting to go back and do those over again.
But even getting Sheila on base.
Oh shit! I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yes,
That was the-
everyone was
that
so
was the whole
happy the
thing.
whole time.
That was the first moment I remember when we were working on season 2, and we had the idea to put Sheila on the base. That Jeff was like, "I've had it. I'm done. I'm out of here." It had been so many hours,
This
and
is
it was just
bullshit.
like, couldn't take it.
We did it though.
And then we did it again.
Yep.
And we got lucky the first time around with a lot of those things. The landing the warthog up on the base, that didn't take what? But maybe that didn't take maybe 6 tries, Jeff?
Yeah, it was
8
like
tries.
It was like 4th or 5th take, I think.
Mm-hmm. And I remember, all of them like trying to flip even Sheila up. Sometimes you just got really lucky, and then when you go back and you have to replicate luck, that's pretty difficult.
But that's the cool part about the game is it's designed to do stuff like flip vehicles from explosions, and so I don't know. It's not as hard to redo as you would think. In the
I
grand
think the
scheme of
hard,
things.
I
Or
think
hard
the
to do
hardest
as you would
thing
think.
to redo was definitely the sequence where you have the bombing run on the tank, where you have sort of the explosions leading up to it. That one was definitely a bear, trying to get that redone. And it's funny too because it was almost retracing. At one point, it was be like I had to come up to the guys and be like, exactly how did you do this? And as you'd sort of feel your way through, you would literally find the old marks that they put the people on, 7 years ago, which I thought was sort of funny. It's like literally for the plane run, seeing the explosions lead up to the tank, it was literally like, oh, that's right, we put the guy on the edge of the cliff here to throw a grenade from this point.
Yeah.
And it recreated itself almost exactly.
And didn't we also find that there were slight variations in the map itself between Halo CE and
the difference is
regular Halo?
that the ups and the downs of the terrain are more
Right.
extreme.
Right,
um,
right. Because there was a few scenes that were shot on a hill or next to a hill
Yeah.
where the characters look dramatically different in terms of their relationship to each other
Yeah.
on the screen than they did in the original version, but they're in the same spot.
Yeah.
It's just that the terrain is molded a little bit more dramatically.
Yeah. It's funny that you pointed that out.
Did you ever have trouble, Joel, when you were going and recreating these shots, finding the locations? Because sometimes it's just like the guy standing next to a rock that looks
Yeah.
very similar to 12
so,
rocks on
it's
the
so
map.
funny. You find yourself looking at the background, like looking at the horizon, like, oh, you can see the halo in the background. Oh, you can see that moon. Oh, you see the brown thing. And eventually you'd find it. But yeah, there were some shots that were like, wow, this is impossible. I have absolutely no idea. And drag you guys, where was this? We'd have like a meeting about it for half an hour trying to find the exact plot of dirt.
Yeah.
Then just shoot on.
I really do feel like I know every square inch of this set, of this level, because we shot in it for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could probably in my head like walk from red base to blue base and know when the terrain is going to rise and fall and
The weird
where
thing
the
for
rocks
me
are.
is remembering weapon sets and where they are.
That was weird.
Like walking over to help Joel with a shot and be like, oh, I need to get,
that was a huge
to
ordeal.
get the sniper
yeah.
rifle. Oh, I remember the shotgun is,
Yeah, or when we couldn't get certain weapons with other weapons, that we kind of had the most problem with that in season 4, I think.
The sword?
With the
Yeah,
sword, yeah.
with the sword when we moved to Halo 2, and that was more difficult. But I'm also kind of happy that my brain didn't retain that information. Didn't have information that I didn't need in my life. That once we moved beyond Halo and Halo 2,
There is a surprising amount of information in there regarding weapon sets and everything else.
that flag is shorter. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. That's probably about almost
Wow.
half the size of the Xbox flag.
Maybe it's flying at half mast. Maybe
I
someone died.
I can't tell you, dude. Yeah, it's definitely different. I can't tell you that free cam to me was a huge help, and also the fact that you could. There's a shot later that I believe that's just Sheila. The fact that you could Dutch the camera. You could really just make the frame, symmetrical and perfect. In a lot of the shots, which I thought was invaluable. But
And of course, for the less film inclined, when Joel says Dutching the camera, he means like rolling it, right?
yeah, exactly.
Tilting it on its axis. This started too. This was actually a process that we began for Xbox Live, because they wanted to put Red versus Blue on the marketplace, but they wanted it to be HD. And the original Halo was not an HD game; it was an SD game, which at most was 640 by 480.
I had forgotten about that, and we had already put season 1 up, so we started with season 2,
That's right.
HDing it, and then we had to go back, and season 1 was actually the last one we redid, right?
Was it the last or
Season 1 or Season 4?
Yeah, no,
I don't know, it gets
well, we
confused in my
definitely
head.
started with Season 2.
Yeah.
And then that was almost just an experiment to see, like, is this even gonna work, you know?
Yeah.
And then I feel like once we even got through like a couple episodes of that, we're like, oh, this is so much better, you know? Because the landscape of technology and stuff it just changed so much in the last few years. Where like everybody's gotten it seems like an HD TV now, and Xbox Marketplace wanted this stuff to be in HD, and we wanted it to look as good as it could possibly look, and it's
Like that's just perfect.
Just as we're watching this right now, I remember one of the hardest things right now was the flag return. I remember this now, where it was like having the freestanding flag by itself. It was a rush where you'd have to drop the flag.
Yeah.
Hurry, get the camera to play, because you didn't exactly know where that flag was going to drop. The flag would drop, rush, get that camera into place, and capture until it disappeared.
Man, I've just remembered you dodged the biggest bullet of Halo 1 filming of all, which was the idle animation. Because we used to have to deal with that idle animation
Oh,
with the
yeah.
pistol. Every
Yeah.
14 seconds, he would pop the gun up and
I'm telling you,
play with the sights,
I thought shooting and
and then lower it again. That was a fucking tremendous
Him being
pain
the
in ass.
cameraman.
Yeah, him being
Yeah.
the cameraman.
Like one of the things that got eliminated in this
Yeah.
version of Red vs. Blue is that we would have to, if we had a shot that was longer than, I think it was 12 seconds, right? If it was longer than 12 seconds, we had to move the camera even a
Yeah.
little bit some point during the shot.
This is why I thought, why I think you guys are crazy when you're talking about shooting in Halo 1 or 2 is better than shooting in the CE environment. That's another thing that you guys had to battle. This is so much easier for me than it was for you guys, no question.
I was just looking at an older PSA that had something composited in it, one of our goofy graphics that we do from Season 1 or Season 2, and at some point the camera moved just a little bit on a long shot,
Yeah.
which threw off the comp, because the whatever was in there was just laid in there, and it didn't move with the rest of the shot.
Probably the graves. or
And I was
something
like,
that.
what the hell were we thinking? Why did we move the camera? But it's like, of course, we had the idle animation problem. The gun of the quote-unquote cameraman was going to pop up
Yeah.
into the frame.
Yeah, I think for the most part, me shooting in this environment, way easier than how you guys had it back in the day, no question.
Another benefit of shooting in the Halo CE environment is that the cameraman could double as a character, where
Yeah.
you couldn't do that in the Xbox.
I did it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Where I would literally have, and I could be one person and have like a scene set up where I would be the camera and the actor at the same time. It was great.
Right, you just pop his camera out, put it in front of him, and then switch back over to the character for the motions.
However, you do have to contend with the fact that Joel sat next to an irradiated array of like 9 computer monitors
I can't imagine how many
for a
kinds-
year, and now, I mean, you'll never have kids.
No, I can't imagine how many forms of
sterile.
cancer Joel
Yeah.
has now.
It was.
And we needed a PC, and
Any time we had a scene where it was multiple people, it was like we need a PC for a character. So I mean, there were some scenes in there where it was like I felt terrible. We had to like ransack people's PCs throughout the office to make shots work.
Yeah, I remember at the end of Season 2, when we were doing that, there was a point where we had like 11 characters on the screen.
Right.
And this is back before we switched over to Mac workstations in the office. And there were times when everybody would just have to stop whatever they were doing, no matter what it was, to load up Halo CE and help out. And we'd have
That's
like,
right.
every PC in the office working on it at once.
And there was even one that was the worst. You knew you were,
There's the shot right there with the flag in the background.
you knew you had too many. Yeah, see, we didn't have to think about that when we did it the first time. We just,
Right.
wherever it fell. But then Joel has to come back and match it and make sure it's the same way. And also that teleport pad
Huge.
seems so much bigger.
Yeah, they're huge, right?
Yeah. But I was gonna say that when we were initially shooting with Halo the first time, it wasn't even 16:9 game. It was a 4:3 game.
That's right.
So that shot's different than the previous shots.
No one noticed it unless you pointed it
No,
out.
that's the thing, because normally, when we go back to a shot that's going to be like a scene that's like got coverage of like 2 people talking, basically, what you do is like, if it's, let's say it's Griff and Simmons talking, you'd set up on Griff, shoot all of Griff's coverage, and then you turn around on Simmons, shoot all of Simmons' coverage. That way, when you're going back and forth in the edit, it's the same setups. Is ideally what you want, and you could see going back to that last scene where the flag is moved a little bit. Couldn't do it, because the flag wasn't going to behave.
And
So-
going back to how much Halo has changed throughout the years, something that no one who plays Halo 3 would ever even think about. We just had Griff and Simmons getting the
Yeah.
Warthog together,
Yep.
which was one of the biggest, I remember one of the most commented on shots when we first started Red vs. Blue, because it was impossible to do in Halo 1, and now it's like, why wouldn't you be able to get 2 different colored characters in a Warthog?
Yeah.
Of course
Yeah.
you can. But yeah, at the time, people went nuts for that, and then
And that-
the crane raise at
that
the
problem
first shot of the series.
That problem still existed in Halo C.
Yeah, so we had to plate it together.
That would be our first visual effects shot of all time. Was that
Yeah, that's right.
Griffin Simmons in the Warthog together. Look at the air on that. Look at the air on
That was
Jeep.
that was one of the hardest things. Vehicle, see that slide? Like the Warthog just wants to slide.
The characters slide too.
Character slide too.
Church jumped off the base earlier. He does like kind of like a little
It's the original
like
stuff.
surf move.
Man, I would say to this day there is no vehicle driving experience quite like driving the Warthog in Blood Gulch.
Yeah.
In Halo 1. It was so something. Even I mean, Halo 2 was still great, and Halo 3 as well. But there's something about that Warthog in Blood Gulch.
They were very
perfect.
valuable because they were indestructible, and gravity didn't seem to affect them. I still love this after all this time too. I love the shell casings that are falling when you're firing
yeah.
the turret.
Yeah, they
We were
look,
excited
shell
about that.
casings always look great.
Yeah.
Can't get enough of them.
I remember we were trying to get Gus excited in his get some line. If you go back and listen to the original, if you go back and listen to the audio without the visual or the sound effects over it, Gus is going, get some.
I think that
woo,
isn't that original
get
audio
some."
on one of the discs somewhere or
Might
something.
be. Woo,
Terrible.
yeah, take it.
It's shot with
You
the
refused to get excited that day. For some
I
reason.
was recording audio in the car like at 1 a.m.
It was a thing where with Gus yelling, it was Gus would say, "Get some," and I'd say, "No, you need to be yelling it." He'd say, "Okay, get some."
Don't be farther away. Be
like-
louder.
Yelling is like a tonal thing and not a volume thing.
It is, right?
But one of the things here's of course here's Tucker in the black armor, right? One of the things I was so tempted we had to keep ourselves in check on was
The color of the characters? Is that what you were about to say?
no. It was the crazy theories of people watching Red versus Blue started centered around that black armor because we had Tex in the original opening intro, and because Tex came out and she was invisible and she came out from behind a bush and killed a guy in the intro, which we never explained who those red and blue characters were that everybody was killing in the original intro, but people kept saying that Tex was in the series and that she was, or didn't know she was a she at that point. That Tex was in the background, and it was a hidden character that you had to try to find every episode.
People swore by that, and they would spot it, and they'd take screenshots. Remember?
Yeah, and they'd say like here, and it was always like some kind of compression artifact. They'd say here, see this little ripple? That's Tex in this episode, and it became a game in the forum to find Tex in the episode, and we were like, yeah, Tex isn't in the episodes, but people seem to be having a lot of fun with this, so I hate to ruin it.
Let me ask you a question about that. In Reconstruction, we did an episode, maybe 2 episodes with Meta, where we did that. We strategically placed him invisible in a
Yes,
bunch
we
of
did.
shots.
We did.
Was that in your head? Was that just because it's cool, or was that in any way an homage to this?
No, it was probably in reference to that. And,
Yeah.
and I thought about actually going back and putting Tex in to some of these shots. I even was going to go dig through the old archived forums and find places where they found Tex and put her in to the shots there. But that would be changing it. And we had a big philosophy not to change it, to just upgrade it.
We
Right.
should have just made the compression on this DVD really crappy.
Was it the armor cleaning PSA after Church died, where there is actually a ghost Church off to the side
Yes.
at a very, very low opacity?
Yep.
I didn't remember that.
He's standing in the hallway behind them.
I know he's there, and I still cannot see
That's
him to this day.
PSA number 2, right?
It is PSA number 2.
That was a sponsor-only PSA. And it was, a very short, 20-second PSA.
Yeah.
Maybe if that.
By the
yeah.
way, that's the other thing about season 1 is you go back and look, and the episodes are like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. I think our longest one was episode 10. It was 4 minutes.
Yeah,
In our minds, we talked about how long it was and how difficult it was.
When episode 2 came out, it was epic. I remember it was like the Lord of the Rings of Halo machinima.
No, we thought it was the
4 minutes long.
longest thing. Like in my mind, that's like a 15-minute episode.
These shots, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but these shots right here in this version are visual effects.
They are.
shots.
That's right.
They have to be.
Because
lay in the.
we couldn't do the POV of the tank the way we did in the original.
That's right.
And I don't remember why we couldn't do that.
Because in the original, the cameraman was holding a plasma rifle. And
No,
you're
plasma
seeing,
pistol.
A plasma pistol?
Right.
And you're seeing the reticle of that. And since the camera is not a
Right.
person in Halo CE, you couldn't do that.
And we even left in the very top of the plasma pistol to look like the turret.
Right.
The end of the turret.
Right.
pointing thing. That turns great. That turns exactly like, I remembered it being in the original ones. Even these camera angles are great. Some of these shots I think must have been very hard to set up. We listened to my wonderful running noise there.
Gross.
I like that we got the only time you've ever run in your life captured on audio, though.
How dare you? Did you notice the lighting effect when the tank shot was much different? Simmons was kind of knocked out in a silhouette there, as opposed to flaring up all around him. So, just one of the slight differences. The big thing that I remember when we first took a look at Halo CE was that the concrete on top of the bases was shiny.
It was really bizarre to us.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't seem as bad as it first seemed when we looked at it the first time. I don't know if that's something that's
It does.
that
It,
they
it,
changed.
it definitely has a shiny finish as opposed to like the original has like a matte finish.
I
or
think when you
something.
looked at it originally, maybe you had been staring at Halo 1 for years at that point, so it was
Yes.
very stark to you.
Yeah.
Right. I wonder if maybe my memory has
I
just
think
faded the difference
the
over years.
extremes of the colors on the characters when you versus light versus shadow. I know every time I had one of the characters in the shadow, especially Tucker, it was like, wait a minute, is that Tucker? Is that the right color? Like, it just looks so different.
I don't think we've ever put Tucker in a scene and not said, "Is he the right color?" It's
It's
In fact, he was the wrong color in one episode.
Yeah, that was me and Matt's fault.
Yeah, in
I think.
season,
It was like
that was
season
season 2, right?
Yeah.
It was after we
No,
shot.
no, we did it twice actually. Now that I think about it,
It was after we shot the St. Patrick's Day episode. I remember is the one I'm
That's
thinking of.
right, that's
He
right.
was, we
That
made
was-
him teal instead of cyan.
yeah.
Well,
'cause
the problem is we say he's teal, but he's never been teal. He's always been cyan. But for some
We've
reason
gotten
we
that
say
locked in our
that.
head.
that shot was cool.
that was one of the shots we had that had to be different just because of the nature of the way people die in Halo CE, the after effect of the camera versus the original Halo.
you know what?
And if we ever wanted a high shot like that one where Church died, what we would have to do is set the respawn times really high.
Yep.
Because we couldn't move the camera off of the field of vision ever in the original Halo. And now with CE, yeah, you just hit a button and shoot, the camera goes up in the air.
We did that twice, I think, in season 1. I think we did it there on the hill, and then also when we're following the Warthog as it's running away from Sheila firing at it.
Yep.
Those are the 2 times we.
And then once
that work.
Halo 2
That's
came
right.
around, they added a Banshee to the bases, and that allowed us to fly around, and we learned we could put a guy up on top of the Banshee.
I think we figured out we could put a guy on top of the Banshee about the time we stopped using Halo 2, though.
Yep. And we used it like 6 times in the last 6 episodes, I think.
Yeah.
And it
That's
was
how it always works.
It was a slow, winding process. You'd have to fly in a like tight circle with the guy standing on top of the Banshee, get as high as you could, and then
It always made me think of like those biplane wing walkers from like the 20s and the 30s, like crazy people out in the wings of a biplane,
Ah.
like dancing and kicking or doing
So
whatever.
I thought that worked out okay with the.
I thought it
wasn't
worked
as
great.
good as the original, but it sold it.
I think that's the one shot that didn't turn out as good as the original version. But the original version was total luck.
Yeah, and we spent a lot of time trying to get it. It just didn't want to flip for us.
Well, you could flip it over and over in Xbox, and it just flipped in such a way perfectly where the wheels hit the edge of the base,
And then it
flipped it
slid.
completely up, and then it slid and
You-
bumped Griff.
You know what's
Yeah.
ironic about it is the first take that we shot it, it was almost exactly like the original that you guys had done, except for just didn't quite make it. And we were like, oh, well, this will be easy. And then we spent the next 2 hours. It was like, no, nothing close. This is the shot. Is this a shot coming up right here with the? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we also had some trouble recapturing this cutscene.
Yeah,
Oh,
what
that's
was,
right.
I
I
didn't
think
remember
because
that.
there was text on the bottom, like
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's like the introduction of a level in Halo. So I
Yeah.
think we had to punch in on it, right? Is that what we did?
We did, yeah, and we had to like modify our whole setup to make it a even slightly higher resolution, so that when we punched in, it wouldn't be as noticeable, like it wouldn't look
Right.
muddy.
You know, I think the entire time we filmed in Halo 1, I never noticed those little like lights on the suit that are like on the chest and on the knees.
Yeah. Do you know what those are?
Like little flashlights, right?
No, they create the shield.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's what I was
Oh,
told.
okay.
Yeah, those are what generate Master Chief's shield, or more specifically the Spartan. Yeah, that is a cutscene. Those Pelicans are a cutscene. By the way, that looks like the original aspect ratio. What that shot of them?
Yeah, it does
Like
kinda.
standing in that trench. But yeah, that's a cutscene from Silent Cartographer, and I think it's the only cutscene that we used.
Yeah.
Except Matt used some stuff in now the new intro.
You mean from Halo 1?
Yeah, from
Or-
Halo 1
Okay,
cutscenes.
yeah.
And we specifically wanted to avoid that stuff.
So that
There
one
it is.
worked out almost the same.
The only thing that's different in those running shots, I remember, were really hard to get when the camera is backing up, because there's that one and the one of Church maybe earlier before like episode 5 or something, right?
Okay.
Where the camera is running in front of a character that's running, or moving fast in front of a character that's running. Is like when we shot it originally, the camera was a character, so he's locked to the ground, essentially. And then this time, like the terrain is like it's it's like it's not, it doesn't match. It's like not even, and the camera's not locked to anything. So when you try to set your original point, you end up getting really high. Like so that shot of Caboose running there, at the tail end of it, the camera's way high off the ground.
Oh yeah, that's right. And you can't really
know?
control like the pitch.
Yeah, you can't
No.
control the pitch.
In-
You gotta
in
just
that,
once
yeah.
you start moving, you're going in that particular direction.
That scene where the tank is upside down, it's one of those deals where it's like, okay, Matt, I shot the plate of the tank, and if just for visual effects you don't put the sparks in, it's like you could just shoot the tank with a pistol, get the sparks.
Yeah.
Oh yes, that's
I don't think. What was the very first composite shot that you did?
Gosh, I don't remember. I don't even know if it was in season
That-
one.
that
It
shot-
probably was in season 2.
that shadow of Simmons and Griff in the thing where the shadow goes. That's a visual effect, right?
Well, this is a visual effect that we added later. Vic was slightly different. Matt went through and did a much better version of the one that I did for Vic whenever he talked. And this is getting close to episode 10, I think.
Who did do the shadow that Joel's talking about? I don't remember us doing that.
Yeah, right. That had to be a visual effect.
It was definitely a visual effect.
I'm pretty sure Bernie did that.
Did you do it?
I did a wipe with a opacity, and I just
Sure.
did a wipe. If you look in the original one, it's just a flat, like lines, two
Yeah.
lines. I mean, it's not even like the angle of the wing of the pelican or anything like that. And then I think like the last visual effect that I did was one of the first shots in season 2 where I did the graves for Church and for Tex.
I remember that.
And then Matt went through and redid them. And we criticized his dirt, as I recall.
No, was it that one or was that a different grave?
It was the graves, but later.
it was
Yeah.
it was the
episode
graves
50.
in is the episode 50, yeah.
Yeah.
It always drove me crazy.
Yeah,
that
your
there
dirt was
a
just off that
blue
Dale.
blinking
Sometimes
light
you got the
behind
dirt,
us.
sometimes you don't. I'm just saying.
Yeah, now in Halo 2 and Halo 3, there's not just one little blue light or a blue symbol on the base. The entire bases are blue, and they're cast in a blue hue. And now, but in Halo, we just had that blinking
I just
light.
couldn't decide if that blue light right behind him was distracting or not distracting.
And
It's like heaven.
It's to help seal the fact that he's a ghost. You can see through him.
I used
Exactly
to
right.
I used
Exactly.
to absolutely despise every time you wrote Ghost Church into an episode because for whatever it seemed so complicated back then, and it meant doubling production time because we had that transparent church, and it's like it seems so silly now.
You
you
take
know?
2 seconds, yeah.
The easiest of anything we do now would be to turn somebody transparent. I don't know why it was such a
Also,
big
you don't have
damn
to
deal
shoot it
us.
twice anymore. You can use the special invisibility that's not as good. In
Oh, in Halo 3?
Yeah, we
True.
use it a little bit.
Yeah, it doesn't work
It
as well.
looks kind of predatorish still.
We use that from far away. It's not the same effect quite as the Ghost Church, or now the digital church or whatever you want to call it.
I'll call him Analog Church.
I remember we did a shot on Sidewinder here. We referenced Church being on Sidewinder, and then we did a actual shot with him on Sidewinder. And I remember Matt thought that was the greatest thing of all time, just having showing a different level, and then also showing Vic, the guy with the face. It was very refreshing to him.
The camera move was not easy.
This one?
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
this. This was a bear. This is part of the problem with that.
I couldn't quite recreate exactly. So it was
No, it's
literally a
great.
move forward with a crane.
Dude, that
it was
looks-
as close as we could come.
Looks very good.
Before in the original one, we just walked the guy off the ledge and he dropped.
I still anytime someone says it's cold, I always mutter under my breath, I hope we see some action.
You know, you really do.
Yeah,
You do it all the time.
You did that the other day to me. I thought it was hilarious.
But don't you just say that no matter what the preceding line is all the time?
So this is at this point we're definitely in episode 10. This is our 4-minute long opus.
Yeah, we're so proud of it. Oh, there's Tex appearing.
No, that's just compression artifact.
That's her middle name, by the way, is Text Compression
Compression
Artifact.
I didn't really think about it, but I thought it was interesting that Church had a shotgun in that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's weird.
I don't like it personally.
I don't blame you,
Yeah,
Matt.
it's so funny how you become melded with Sarge and a shotgun, or like the different characters with the guns. Once they get established, it's really kind of weird.
She's holding her skull a little differently there too. She's holding it directly out in front. That shot has a little less blood than I remember it having.
Well, we had to clean it up,
You don't want to go crazy,
This is the PG-13 edition of Red vs. Blue.
This isn't.
We're
This
allowed
isn't,
one swear word, so
That's
make it count.
this isn't the snuff version. This is reminds me too is that we had in Halo 1 we had the flashlights and we didn't have them in Halo 2. but we got them back in Halo 3. The ability to cast light on stuff.
Yeah, correct.
Funny to me that Caboose is taller than Tucker in this scene.
What was the threshold on those flashlights? Like, you could only have 4 people with flashlights on the map at the same time, otherwise they wouldn't work?
If you had more than 4 people in the game, flashlights were scaled
Disabled.
out.
Yeah, you wouldn't see them from a third-person perspective. From if you were playing the game, you'd still see the flashlight effect. You'd still get illuminated, but no one else would see that you had your light on.
Yeah, so the same thing happened with infinite grenades. If we wanted to have a scene with a lot of explosions, we wanted everyone to have infinite grenades, but it wouldn't let you do that with more than 4 players.
Shadows 2, right? Or was that Halo 2? Where you can only have 3 shadows on the ground at one time?
Yeah,
I think that
that's
was
Halo
Halo
2.
2.
That's definitely Halo 2. Halo 1, I mean, if you ever go back and shooting it or working it, you forget it wasn't on Xbox Live. It didn't have all the things that we're used to. You couldn't even start a game with just one person and just walk around the map. You always had to have a different box on and have 2 people joined into the game.
You know, something else I'm just remembering from Halo 1 that I probably hadn't thought about since we, did production back then was totem polling the characters.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Where we would get the camera stand on someone's shoulder, then we'd jump the 2 characters and try to sneak a third person under there.
Man.
So we could get the camera up into the air.
Yeah, forget it.
Sometimes as high as 6 people.
Yeah, that shit was crazy. You'd have like a stack of controllers trying to make everyone jump at the same time and then run someone in the bottom so they'd all land on him.
I knew shooting this, there was going to be certain times where people would be like, in our day, we had to stack people. It's like, man, you guys were in the 20s. That was freaking.
Was it difficult, Joel, dealing with the bullet holes in Halo CE?
It wasn't too bad. They definitely do disappear after a while.
Yeah.
But definitely not as challenging as having to stack 6 people on top of one another.
We should try to do that again for fun.
Forget it. I tried to stack 2 people one time just for. It was hard. It was hard.
And in later versions of Halo, you can't even do it. It's difficult to do. But height was a very big deal to us. I remember is that we wanted to have higher camera shots because it was a different way to look at Blood Gulch. Everybody played Blood Gulch constantly, but they all played it from the same view of being at eye level.
Yeah. Right.
And so I thought if we could get higher or if we get height in our shots, that would be really impressive.
Yeah, no one played walking around on the shoulders of 6 other people.
No, nobody played that game.
Everybody would though. It's awesome.
And so anything we could do to get the camera any kind of elevation at all was a helpful thing.
I was so relieved that in the original version you see some of these shots like there's a grenade, sniper rifle on the ground in the background. Those are, I believe, in the original. I was like, thank God I don't have to pick up the grenades.
I'm pretty sure those are. Although I think in the original, when the flag was being waved there, I think there were only 2 grenades on the ground.
We
and
used
not
to
4.
try our best to get rid of that stuff. But
it's funny because it's like you look at a frame and it's go, okay, why did they pick this frame? And then as you go up there and you start setting up, you realize, oh, well, if the camera's here, then you see the weapon right there. Oh, there's a shadow. And like you slowly hone in on why it was shot the way it was shot.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of shots like that. You think they're just simple singles, but they're not. I mean, there's literally reasons why people are cornered into the area that they are because you're fighting a lot of variables on these maps. It's really funny.
Or masking stuff
sometimes. Yeah, exactly. You're masking stuff. It's like you're trying to hide the invis, and you're trying to like make the whole Blood Gulch look bigger. So it's like, consequently, like if you're shooting at red base, you don't want to show blue base, or if you're blue base, you don't want to show red base. You want to like frame it out. You want to hide it. You make the whole gulch just seem bigger. Or even if you're in the middle, you want to try and.
How was recreating this, Joel?
That was a total pain in the ass.
But it looks better.
It does look
looks
better.
great.
The one in the original version, we had, I think, a half of a second maybe.
Yeah.
And we just looped it over and over again. Like, we got a full second by running it forwards and running it backwards.
Yeah.
But it looked weird, and if you go back and watch it, you can see it's cut over and over and over again. So
yeah, that was a nightmare.
Yeah, I remember we also had a line of donuts set up to keep grenading and keep shooting.
Donut. Last time you're ever gonna have red armor. Poor guy. You know what else I didn't see in those shots, which is something that's really kind of archaic and very specific to Halo 1, is the med packs.
Oh, yeah.
That were on top of the base.
That's like a whole in all video games now, almost, except for like maybe Left 4 Dead. But other than that, you don't see. It's basically your shield recharged now. That's like an axiom of video games.
Right. Well, they brought it back for ODST. They have the health kits, but they're on the wall.
I hear they're coming back in Reach also.
They're not the same thing, though. I mean, they literally had like the big white box with the red cross on the top of it. Like, this is health. I'm surprised it wasn't like a plate with a turkey on it.
Old school gauntlet style.
Yeah, like or anything, like Final Fight or any of the old Sega games where it's like, I'm hurt. I think I'll have a turkey.
If only it worked like that in real life. Well, you've got clogged arteries. You're pretty close to death. Eat a turkey.
Here's a ham. with the bone in. Enjoy.
Those POV shots through the sniper rifle, and for this HD, what was it, 1280 by 720? It worked out perfectly because you could shoot that and just scale in 10%, and it would perfectly lose all the HUD information and just leave the scale of sort of the visor of the sniper rifle. It was great.
Yeah, that's cool. You know, I see that pistol aim back there. We already talked about the grenades. Another thing now that we just take for granted is, oh, we don't want that pistol there. Let's just go erase it. And let's drop the weapons we want. And we just couldn't do that.
Yep.
I mean, back in Halo days, I think our setup, every time we went to go do a shot, we had to run around the map and get everybody in the right weapons and in the right areas. And then if everybody wanted a assault rifle, for instance, we'd all have to wait to pick it up.
Which is why it sucked so goddamn bad when Jason would come in and throw a grenade, thinking it was hilarious.
If you're working in Halo 1, like if you had a battle rifle, could you put the battle rifle down to do head bobbing?
Yeah, it just looked horrible. Like, not just horrible, it just looked differently.
There was no battle rifle in Halo 1.
Well, assault rifle.
Assault rifle. Thank
You see
Forgive
it
me.
in... we saw it earlier already, actually.
It's when
In a shot.
somebody's running and they're tired, and we used it for that.
Yeah.
They're bent over. Like there.
Yeah,
There's
right
it right
there.
there.
Well, that was the thing. I mean, for me in Halo PC, it was so easy to shoot because you just bring it down, looks fine. But
And thank God, even when they remade this game for Halo PC, they didn't fix the bug where the guy looks up when he points his gun at his feet.
Thank God.
Because they would have made this remastering impossible as well.
Hey, they added Ragdoll into Halo CE, right? And it wasn't in Halo CE?
What did it have before? They just spin in place and fall
I think
down?
so. I think I remember it being one of the selling points of
that's
Custom Edition is that it had Ragdoll.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I mean, we've had some people. We had Church die already. That looked pretty much the same as it did in the original
Yeah.
one, where he went up in the air and just kind of flailed his arms a bit. He didn't flop around. Caboose with the damn sniper rifle. What a shame. Continuity error. That's what I say. Inconsistency. You can even see the framing where we framed out Church in that last shot, but now he's in this shot.
Yeah.
You know?
Save time, it cut production time in half. It's efficiency.
Yeah. Look how subtle the blue symbol is in the background now.
Yeah, I had a lot of trouble back then, like telling when I was at Blue Base or not.
It was hard. Yeah. We even got that wrong in the first episode, I think. And some of the Griff Simmons stuff was actually on Blue Base. And we thought, nobody will notice that. It took about 2 seconds.
the one thing that was a pain in the butt shooting in Halo CE is anytime that you were in the interior of any of those bases, all the weapons laying on the ground, that was always a pain. If anyone walked near a weapon, you get the writing on the screen.
Yeah.
Hey, Bernie, looking back on Season 1, actually, when was the last time you watched Season 1 all the way through?
All the way through, I'd say it's probably been a year or two, but I was watching it 5 years after we made it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to go back to moments every once in a while, right, when you're writing for new stuff?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you remember looking back on it as your favorite moment in Season 1?
I think my favorite sequence in all of Red vs. Blue is still the sequence with the teleporter in Season 1.
The Black Rocks?
Yeah, the where they talked about throwing the black rocks or the rocks through the teleporter, and then they became black, and then we set that up, and then put Tucker through, and then his armor changed, and then we introduced Donut, and Tucker was all mixed up. I thought it all worked really well. I was worried, that we were only at episode 6 by that point, and I was worried that the audience wouldn't be familiar enough with the characters to get the confusion. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, they wouldn't understand the confusion there, but yeah, it worked fine, and everyone seemed to get it. So that was a really good feeling for me. That it seemed like we had established something by that point.
Yeah.
And I also like the joke of this doesn't seem physically possible. I think I like that a lot.
I don't think it meant anything to me at the time, but looking back on it now, Simmons and Griff playing I Spy on top of the base, it sticks in my head for some reason. I think it may be because it's about as close to the actual military in my head as I remember. Like the absolute boredom and trying to come up with, like, we used to create dumb games in the Army, like who could throw their hat the farthest, shit like that.
It seems like every thing I've ever heard about being in the military is like 90% of your time is being on a bad family road trip. Where it's like the license plate game or I Spy or whatever.
Dude.
You're just doing those like meaningless time waster, activities.
We should be at war more often.
Yeah, apparently.
So are you good at throwing your hat, Jeff? Like, did you win like the Army Hat Olympics?
I don't want to brag, but I might still be the champion of hat throwing at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. I'm not saying. I'm sure that's the case.
Do they have a plaque? Is there like a committee that like
I was in
documents the longest throws?
I was actually in charge of making plaques while I was there.
But hats
so
back then
I
were
should
a
have
lot
made
more
myself one.
aerodynamic than they are now.
It's
So,
true,
I mean,
it's true.
It's really you had an unfair advantage.
If you had to recreate those hats now, they'd be a lot shinier.
Yeah,
Just
they
like
would
Halo
be.
C.
They
Higher
have
polygon
berets
count.
now, though, don't they? I bet those fly like crazy.
Yeah, I
you go.
never got in on the beret
Weren't those
thing.
hats banned by the committee?
You can play Frolf with a beret, I think.
There's a med pack. Finally,
There you go.
first cameo by the med pack that I've seen so far.
Weird Killer Mojo.
I just keep.
Yeah, I
I keep,
really killed that, didn't I? That's like
Every
friggin' med pack.
every time I look up and I see Tucker on screen, I keep expecting him to be the wrong color. Now it's like it's stuck in my head. Like he's gonna be the wrong color in at least one shot in this thing.
But like Jeff, you asked earlier about going back and watching previous seasons for writing the current season, and I do that, but I very rarely would ever have to do that for season 1. I feel like I know every single moment in season 1, where stuff like in season 3 or season 4, some of that stuff has kind of, passed away from memory. Where
Sure.
I'll like go back and I'll think like, well, did we ever mention Tucker having a family? Like that kind of a thing. And I'll go out to people that I know that watch the series very regularly, and ask them, hey, have we ever mentioned anything about Tucker's family or anything like that?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Season 3 and 4 kind of run together in my head, and even a little of season 5. I get kind of lost, but 1 and 2 are pretty solid, I think.
I'd say season 4 is the one I have the hardest time remembering. And then there was some stuff in season 2 that I didn't write.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
Matt
I have
wrote
to-
some of that stuff.
Yeah, and I have to go back and check some of that stuff. But it's usually about Donut, pretending to be a princess or something like that. So.
Simmons 2.0.
Those are some of my favorite Donut lines are in season 2 when he talks about having a jetpack and going on the secret spy mission.
Man,
I got really
season
into
2
it.
was the donut season.
I realized I get so into writing donut stuff because we had that one episode. I think it was like episode 25, and there was like a gap that I wanted to fill up, and I just told Dan like, just go in the audio booth and just start like you're yammering at me, like you're just talking like nonstop, and you're just like being really annoying,
Yeah.
And he just like every single thing he came up with was hilarious, and he just talked for like 2 minutes just saying random junk, and then from then on I was like, donut in every scene, just more donut. I wanted donut on both teams.
That's Dan in general, though. That's one of the guys, like, if I spend 5 minutes talking to Dan, I'm guaranteed to laugh 3 times.
Yeah.
No matter what we're talking about, no matter
And you probably
when
won't
it
even
is.
know what you talked about when you're done
Yeah.
with it. Because that's how I was. Like, he had this long spiel of different funny stuff, and I didn't even know what any of it was about, but it was all funny.
Yeah, you'll laugh 3 times in 5 minutes, or you get your money back. That's the Dan guarantee.
You know what's really crazy is we're probably past it, but in the middle of the season, it's hard to think of it now that we weren't all together to make this.
Yeah.
That, 4 people were in Los Angeles.
1 was in New York.
One was in
Puerto
New York.
Rico.
One was Gus was in Puerto Rico, and then Dan was in Austin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was in
me,
Austin.
you and Dan were the guys in Austin.
Didn't see him very often, but he was in Austin.
Yeah, he was. And this was this is back. We all still had day jobs. Rooster Teeth was not our full-time job at this point.
Yep.
And we were all working. Rick, Jeff, you were still working?
Yeah, I didn't stop until right around season 3. I think is when I quit the day job.
Season 3, really? Wow.
Season 2, season 3, somewhere around there.
This sequence is a lot of fun too. This is another one I really liked, where they dress up in the armor by going through the teleporter. Some about that crouch too. Wow, that worked really well.
That worked really well, yeah.
Lopez had a crazy ass turn there. Did you see
Yeah, that was weird. What was that?
Halo PC has some wacky turns.
that? That was the robot turn.
Aggressive turns for no doubt.
Hey man, when you're a robot, not
That's
everything.
a robot.
Yeah,
You can get away with it.
his torso servos are a little bit overclocked. I think.
That is definitely the thing for me that I've totally lost track of at this point in the plot lines is when Church is a robot, like which bodies he takes over and when, like over the course of the first 3 seasons. Like if I try to like map it back out of my mind right now, I just like get confused and shut down.
Yeah. God, I don't know. I'm trying to make sense of it in my head right now too.
Because when we start season 2, he's in
Lopez's body.
Lopez's
Right,
body.
he's in Lopez.
Painted cobalt.
Painted cobalt blue, which we did off screen. Right? They just
Between
refer-
seasons.
Yeah,
Right.
they just refer to it.
I think the only thing we did with that was in episode 50. We showed when Sarge was building their robot kit in Blood Gulch. On
Oh,
Red Base.
right.
He was
When he
building
had the-
Lopez.
the
You
dumpster
and Church
joke.
wanted him to have a bigger switch.
Yeah.
Kick dirt on the little switch.
That's exactly right.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
One of my favorite jokes.
I'm starting to think that. Ow, gee, the back of my head.
And Matt, you guys would record your season 1 dialogue. You would record it in your closet, right?
We would, yeah. This is back when,
Under blankets.
Which is
I
actually a better setup than we had.
yeah, I lived in L.A. and Joel lived down the street, and then Mary and Kathleen, Mary plays Sheila, and Kathleen plays Tex, lived close by as well, and they would all come over, and we would go in my tiny little closet
And giggle.
and just
And sometimes dialogue would come out of that.
yeah.
Did you ever play 7 Minutes in Heaven with Joel?
7 minutes in heaven.
Like there wasn't enough room in that closet to spin a bottle. I can tell you that much.
So, like, what would you do? Would you just, like, did you literally put like a blanket over your head and with a microphone and record? Or?
We did a couple times, but then we discovered like because the closet was, had plenty of clothing and stuff in there just hanging up, that it was enough of sound dampening and echo dampening. So like 90% of the stuff we recorded, we didn't even use a mic. It was just the built-in mic
See, this is
on
probably
my old little Apple laptop.
Wow.
That was
Probably-
like I still have that laptop. It's like a 7-year-old laptop at this point.
it's like probably a good lesson for us now, right? Where we could just spend some money on hanging clothes in the new sound closet that we have.
Yeah. And we should just do that. Let's make the new sound booth double as a
Wardrobe.
closet wardrobe.
It's probably not a bad idea. Someone one time tried to point out to me that the killing of Sarge there would actually make Caboose not -1 but 0. But he doesn't die.
It's true.
That's true.
Oh, this is an interesting one. I remember when we shot this, Jeff hated me.
Dude,
And
I
I-
did hate you.
And I hated Jeff.
Gets,
This was a
Was
hard...
this, was this over the driveway incident?
we probably...
No,
No.
the driveway
man,
incident.
I
was-
We
forgot
probably
about that
talked about
driveway
this on the
incident.
original commentary, but yeah, it's when you had that 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse idea, and you wanted to have 4 ghosts drive in unison, and it was me and you doing it, I think.
Yeah. And it just, but it wasn't, I wasn't like completely sold on the idea, but it was Thursday night when we were doing this, and I had an idea, but I wasn't confident in it, and I didn't really like it actually, and it was a low moment in production, I remember.
we
Episode
tried for
turned out
about-
fine though.
Episode was great. We tried for about 2 hours to get that down, and then eventually we threw in the towel.
We did.
I wonder what things would have been like had we got it.
It didn't really fit like
Dissolve.
it was supposed to. It was going to be like a whole tie-in thing to stuff I had ideas for later with those 4 people, but it just that was way down the road, and it didn't work out, and so we just didn't do it. We just editing room floor, which luckily our editing room floor is the same as our production room floor.
Yeah, very sticky and covered with popcorn.
It's funny to think about it, but those season 1 nights were really, really rough and stressful. And there must have been a good 6 months where you and I, because we worked together in the daytime, and then we worked together all night long, and then we worked together on the weekend, filling envelopes with T-shirts and stuff.
Yeah.
You and I must not have spoken pleasantly or socially for 6 months
6 months 6
or
years.
more. And now here we are 7 years later sharing an office again in a
Yeah, I
tiny little room
don't think we've gotten over that yet.
with a green wall.
Should we tell them what the that's my cool Adobe Premiere filter? I think it's wave. That's my massive special
we had
effect.
to go back to earlier generation of Adobe Premiere just for that shot because they don't make it effect that crappy anymore.
Is that true?
I think so.
The
Yeah,
equivalent of the HTML blink tag.
yeah exactly.
You actually have to zoom it in a little too because they don't compensate for the edge of the screen. You end up with like black
Yeah.
edges of the
yeah.
screen warping in. Yeah, it's really super pro. Should we explain what the driveway incident was?
I don't even. What was?
I built a
You
parking
don't remember?
pad.
You don't remember what the driveway?
Oh god.
I built a parking pad at my place just so that Jeff could have a place to park and Gus when they came over. And the concrete had been there maybe 5 days. And Jeff parked his old nasty pickup jalopy on it. And it rained, and I don't know what happened. That car reacted to the rain, and it left these enormous rust stains all over this brand new concrete. It looked wonderful.
Well, if you want a car to park on concrete, it's going to happen eventually.
It looked like
No.
the car, it looked like the
No.
car had taken a dump on the.
I was
Fucking
gonna say you posted a picture of it, and I always thought it looked like Jesus, but no, that's not
It was
appropriate
a,
to say after the dump
It
comment.
was a 1968 Chevy C10 stepside, and it was a beautiful truck.
Sorry, Jeff. I tried to defend you half-heartedly there.
I appreciate your half-hearted defense.
See, now that's the first shot I've seen this whole thing that looks a little different. Like here, you're going up as opposed to back down the hill.
Oh yeah.
It was it's hard to get. You can crane easy, but it's hard to get another variable in with the crane, if that makes sense. Another movement.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I mean, it works. It's a really great compromise. But it's out of all the shots I've seen in this, it's one of the only ones that looks any different to me at all. I mean, it's amazing shot for shot how much these things are accurate. Must have been like setting up these guys in the exact same positions.
It's funny because I had all the same experiences that you guys had. Like I had someone parked in my driveway, and there was a spill, and I had an argument with myself.
He really
except the
recreated
spill was
it.
in higher quality now, since 7 years later. It was synthetic oil now.
Yeah, it wasn't rust. It was carbon scoring. Now.
So damn inconsistent. What would you do if they stabbed me in the toe, rub my neck?
Oh, Donut's new armor.
Dude, this is sweet. The man was so happy that I got the blue flag.
And this was a deal that like it was very important in season 1 that the different colors of armor meant different things, and that a new guy would have just a generic color,
Right.
and that he would do something to earn his special color. That was something we didn't really touch on. I remember at one point, very early on, we were gonna have them go blue or go red for battle, and that they would all turn red or blue when they went into battle, so that we thought, well, let's build that in so that it'll be easier for us to shoot things like getting the guys in the warthogs.
That's awesome.
And they'd be like, go red for battle, and everybody would turn red and they jump off the base.
That would have been
Like
fun to
sound
keep up
effects.
with.
Yeah, like a zoop or something like that.
I don't think I'd ever heard that before.
Yeah,
I'm
that's awesome.
learning on this commentary too.
Yeah, that was gonna be a really cool comp. It would have made some of the flag shots a lot easier too. Because,
Yeah, it would've.
You know, you could have everybody in the scene with the flag.
It would also explain the zealots a little more clearly.
Yeah.
I guess
would've.
so. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, they're just multiplayer guys. Gus is talking about the multiplayer kids from
Season
season 3, and then who turned into one of the zealots. Keeps following them around the maps in season 4. There's a massive speech unit. We just talked the other day how we can't use a plasma rifle because we've already used it for for a speech unit, and now that shot would have been impossible in Halo 3 as well because they keep their weapons or secondary weapons on their body.
Oh right.
And the way we
Yeah.
did that handoff was just their secondary weapon, which in the old Halo game they just pulled out of nothing.
I know who you meant, sir. Wait a second. Lopez is a robot?
I like the little toss you did between the two of them. I guess you had the person with the plasma rifle pick up a weapon on the ground, so they dropped that weapon that was in their hands.
No, that's what I was just saying. It was their secondary weapon,
yeah.
and they
both
just
just switched.
Oh, I see. They just switched.
yeah, they just both switched at the same time, so it looks like there's a handoff there.
Yeah, I thought he dropped it and the other guy picked it up. Interesting.
You know, out of all the things we use, I guess I knew that Doc was coming at this point, so he needed his plasma pistol. But why would that speech unit fit anywhere inside of that guy? Thing's massive.
Maybe it's like the speech unit's only on the tip of it. The whole thing's like an applicator.
Exactly.
To, like, properly, to precisely place the speech unit where
Only
it
the
needs to
blue
be.
shiny part.
He's updating firmware or
Yeah.
something. Don't reboot Lopez while we're.
It's got like those clips that you used to like pick up and put chips in place.
You know, honestly, now if I rewrote that joke today, I probably would do a updating firmware and they powered him off, so it fucked up the firmware update, as opposed to the static joke.
No, that's I think because,
It's hard to think. I haven't even seen those static bracelets ever since we made that joke.
That's true. That kind of went away, didn't it? The whole static thing.
Crushed the whole economy of static bracelets.
That's the one.
We can talk about this. Is when Jason went through the blackout.
Yeah.
And it was almost impossible. This is when Jason was in New York and there was a blackout, so it was almost impossible to get his lines for this.
It was impossible, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean it was, but we
Made it work.
we were able to get it done.
told you so. I did not faint.
And this is, remember, originally we were not going to subtitle any of Lopez at all.
Really?
He was going to be completely, he's unsubtitled right here. No one was ever going to understand him. And then it became a joke later that the audience would then understand what he was saying, but the guys in the base wouldn't understand.
You were trying to slowly teach the audience how to speak Spanish.
horrible, horrible.
It'd be
Yeah.
awesome if you get Lopez to be like your the voice on your GPS unit in your car.
Oh, that would be cool. I'd like to have Sheila, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Sheila was the voice menu for our phones for a while here.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
But the Spanish in season 1 actually was decent Spanish. Gus would help me translate. Like, I would go to Google at first, and then I would show it to Gus. I'd go to Babelfish, and translate it. Then I would show it to Gus, and Gus would actually make it more accurate.
Do you think it was decent Spanish or was it Puerto Rican tinged Spanish? Because you had to learn like a whole new Spanish when you moved to Puerto Rico.
I was just a little more comfortable. I was just a lot more in practice with speaking it at that point in time.
Language we understand.
Yeah, but later on, it was just, type the words into Babelfish and glue them all together.
Is
It's absolutely
Babelfish still around?
I use it. I have it bookmarked.
Oh, wow.
I think
use it
Yahoo
all the
owns
time.
it now, right?
Yeah, in fact, I don't use a PC to edit anymore. And this voice filter that we established in Season 1, I think this one's a slightly different. The Season 1 voice filter is a little bit harsher. And once we started to watch it in theaters, we realized it didn't carry across big distances.
Yeah.
And so we slightly modified it for Season 2, and boy, people really did notice.
I don't know if you remember this, but we also modified it again very slightly when we moved into this office because the recording situation changed somehow and stuff was blowing out, and we had to change it a little bit.
Well, we just changed the amplitude.
Was that all we did?
Yeah, there's an amplitude part of the...
Doesn't sound any different to me.
Yeah, volume part of the filter. But I actually have to maintain a PC because this filter I have been unable to replicate on other sound programs exactly the same way.
It's kind of like the wavy video effect from a few scenes ago.
Exactly right.
It's just that good.
Yes.
Time march-
Good in quotation marks.
Yeah. Time marches on. Of course, the other big thing that's changed with audio over all these seasons is that we recast Caboose several times.
Every season.
Every season.
And every recording of everything that joke gets in every time. Am I wrong on it?
No, we actually get that now for everything. I mean, every character now has been exposed to that for the audience when they say, well, hey, why'd they recast Church or why'd they recast Griff?
Yeah, they said that about Griff in Reconstruction,
Yeah.
actually.
And why does the guy who plays Church now play Griff as well? Like, say something.
That's a new one.
Hey, what's up? I'm Private Church.
Hey, what's up? I'm Private Griff.
My wife thinks you two
just
sound
blew their
identical
minds.
on the Reconstruction DVD.
Some people think we sound alike, and then some people think that we sound like Washington, too. So
Yeah, I've heard that too.
we're going to miss you, Jeff.
Aw, well.
So for better casting.
We should just hire Shannon to do everything now.
I know this is a visual joke, too, but I think it's also odd that I ended up with a blue microphone and you have an orange one. So that's weirdly... Did we do that subconsciously?
Matt has a
guess
red
so.
one over here.
That's true, dude.
Mine's black.
Mine's black. Joel's black. Gus is pulling double duty with Matt.
We like it close.
This is one of my favorite jokes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's more like the tone of some of the later Red versus Blue stuff when they really just start to all hate each other. I mean,
Yeah.
they kind of didn't like each other before, but then they openly start to hate the people they work with on their side.
Kind of mirrors the office environment that the
Exactly.
show's made.
It's just not possible for it to go any other way.
I mean, it started kind of with Church and Tucker kind of were at odds, and Church didn't like anybody, but then that's a great bit. It looked great. That looked just like it did as I remembered it looked. Probably looks better, and I remember it better than it actually was. But it's funny, too, now, even in later seasons of Red versus Blue, we'll always occasionally get the comment that where someone says, I like Red versus Blue, but man, it gets so boring, man. They just like jabber all the time, and like they never blow anything up, or they never actually get in a fight. They just look at each other through the sniper rifle, and they don't shoot each other when they see each other in the sights. Why is that? And then I always want to comment back and just quote, "Yeah, all these guys ever seem to do is stand around and talk. That's all they ever do." I think we pretty well established that these guys don't fight from the very first scene. Now there's someone at work. The pistol sparks
We
double
used the
as
hell of that
They-
pistol spark effect.
Works great, though, I thought.
Yeah, you can get away with a lot with looking up and down and making a wrench sound too.
In the future, pistols will double as arc welders, just so you know.
Sure.
They're working on that technology
awesome.
right now.
Absolutely. You just hit a switch on the side and it turns into a maintenance tool. But it goes back to the Tucker line in season 2 when he says, "Why don't you dig me a grave?" He's like, "All we have are guns. That's it. We have an entire base. We don't even have ammo. All we have are guns, and that's it. There's no bunks. There's no food. We have a med pack and guns.
What did you say? Do you want me to shoot you a hole?
You want me to shoot you a grave?" Yeah. No, he says it right here. Not season 2.
Married? With what? All we have is
You're in that in tune with it.
I am, I guess. I knew it was coming, I guess,
like,
subconsciously.
well, church.
Another subtle joke that I think was maybe missed was that Caboose is on lookout, and he's looking at the wrong base.
Yeah.
He's watching their own base for signs of activity.
During eulogy.
Well, that's where they'd go to take the flag, duh. Maybe he's the smartest one out there.
Indeed.
You know what? when we moved to Halo 2 in season 3, I remember Matt didn't want to.
No.
He fought
When we
it
moved
pretty
to
hard.
Halo 2, God, it was like, it was shocking to me. Like, it's so long removed now from when you look at Halo 2, compared to Halo 3 in modern games. It doesn't seem like it was such a gigantic leap from Halo 1. By the time Halo 2 just seemed like just a mega leap from Halo 1. And, like, my first reaction was, this isn't funny anymore because the game looks too good.
Yeah, the guys look
It
too
looks-
tough. It looked like everybody worked out a lot.
yeah,
and built
these guys
tanks
look-
up.
I remember
look
that you
buff.
guys were all concerned about the
The
way
environment
the,
looked
the,
so
the
real.
stance,
Yeah.
like the stance that they had.
When we
seemed-
were first in burial mounds, and it had the animated objects in the background, the sky, like the comets and stuff falling. in the
falling
sky. I was like, that's incredible. I couldn't believe how good it looks. I can't see laughing at this. I'm just like enjoying looking at it for real, But we added some stupid jokes in there.
Yeah,
that
that kind
helped.
of like passed very quickly.
But it is funny, like looking at the guys in Halo 1, they just look funny.
They look funny, yeah. There's something.
they
inherently-
like stand up straighter, I think. and-
There's something inherently silly about moving your head to talk, and at the same time you can't control your arms from moving too. It's like everybody's got this little speech tick or something.
It's like chickens walking. They
Yeah.
got to move their head.
yeah.
I hope if that ever becomes a real problem, like a neurological issue, that we get named for it.
What'd you call
head,
that?
head bobbery syndrome.
Yeah, he's got like rooster teeth syndrome.
Yeah.
Reversosis? Something like that?
Cockmouth syndrome.
Heyo.
I remember the cave in the background there on the church shot. I remember thinking, I wonder if we're ever going to use that cave. And then Matt actually finally had a use for it when he wrote those episodes and stuck. That's where Donut finds his
Ghost.
Ghost is in the
Ghost, yeah.
cave.
So he also
Also, O'Malley. I
is
think
introduced to O'Malley.
Doc has some soul searching out in those caves too.
I remember too when Church switched sides. We got a lot of he said, "I'm gonna go over to the red team and help the red team." People got very upset by that, and now it'd be like, whatever, fuck you guys. I'm off. That's a weird little effect there. It looks like Caboose
Yeah.
is tiny.
Got some forced perspective going on there.
Yeah, really. It almost looked like a composite that wasn't scaled right.
This Halo CE is so sharp. It feels like there's a difference in like the depth of field that you didn't, or less of a difference with the depth of field than what was in the Xbox version of the game.
There was no depth of field.
Yeah, I don't think they're.
I know. There is nothing in either, but this is so sharp. It feels like
The guy
you
up
feel,
on the cliff
you feel
is
the
almost
focus
as
more,
sharp, yeah.
regardless of where they are.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, they're just like scaled down.
Yeah.
Even all the way through Halo 2, there was no depth of field. I'm trying to think. I guess it doesn't even exist in Halo 3. You kind of get the
No.
faux effect of depth of field when you can zoom in.
It's funny though because every time I feel like I'm playing Halo 2 or Halo 3, there's just explosions and firing going on all the time in between yourself and who's ever in front of you. So that sort of provides a shade of what's further away. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm grateful that there's not. I mean, there's some things we've done that we wouldn't be able to do if that existed. The whole junior
Junior thing would have
Junior,
been
yeah.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah, if he was out of focus, that would not have worked at all.
That'd been a whole other joke.
Look,
Your
put
baby's
Tucker's
your
kid in
baby's out of focus.
see that we did that first shot again where we panned up the base, and then we also did that exact same thing, parodied that in the what we call the true ending of season 5. Because that was a really important shot to us. I remember that was why some of the guys at Bungie first noticed us because they were curious how we did it.
Yep.
And here we subtitled Church inside of Lopez, but not Lopez proper. I remember I actually spent time working on that accent to make sure I sounded.
Did you really?
correct. Yeah. Well, I was super worried. I said, "There's no way this is gonna work because I play Church and I play Lopez. So once I start speaking in Spanish, they're gonna pick out that oh, is it Lopez speaking or Church? But that's why I did the subtitles for it. But it worked out really well. I mean, I never really got any complaints about that.
I always liked that line because it was subtitled as mean woman, but you actually say the witch is about to kill you. It sounds a lot more menacing to me in Spanish than it does in English.
Private O'Malley. O'Malley?
Or not. It's cool, whatever.
I'm sorry, I got lost watching it.
I did too.
I
was
agree,
watching-
Gus.
I somehow wish I spoke
Something about a
Spanish.
witch. Very scary.
Come in, Private Church.
So there was our first indication that Caboose is infected by the Omega AI. And then, Matt, when did we go in and add the cutscenes from Halo in to explain the freelancer implantation process? Was that
That's in season 2. That's
season
in season 2. It's like up around like, it's when Tex comes back, like around episode 31. Is that right?
Really?
Yeah.
What are these
Yeah.
scenes?
We had to use cutscenes from the Pillar of Autumn when they wake up Chief, but we did them in all black and white, and we described the process by which the freelancers are implanted with AI and kind of started to set that whole thing up.
Yeah,
it's
I
when
do
she-
remember that.
It's when she comes back, and then like right after that, they all jump into Caboose's head, right?
Right. That is correct.
I wish we had spent more time with Caboose's head. I always love that.
Yeah, I
yeah,
did
we all
too.
agree with that. Yeah.
Pirate Sarge is the best.
Oh, another shot. This one was. I want to see how well you guys were able to replicate this because it took us forever to do it. It felt like. This is when we
It does.
faked Simmons. We thought, oh well, Simmons is maroon. Maybe from a distance he'll look red.
Were we also faking those camera shakes?
Yep.
We are, right?
Yeah.
In the new version, we're faking the camera shakes.
And the way we do it in the old game is we would just shoot the cannon somewhere nearby.
Cover everything up with
Yeah.
explosions.
You know what's interesting there is they're in shadow, which is something we had to deal with a lot in Halo 2. And we probably just didn't care here because it looked cooler that they were in shadow.
I think it also helps distinguish more easily that, Simmons is the darker shade and Sarge is the bright red.
No kidding. There it was like major difference.
In general, though, it does seem like Halo CE, even without placing them in strategically around shadows, like their colors seem to be more true. Like they're more vivid. They pop a little bit more than
Yeah.
the original.
That yellow is just like a banana right there.
Oh, stop
Oh,
it.
come on.
Stop it.
I let the whole Vegas thing go. I didn't bring that up. Talk about my yellow armor.
I remember that Donut, instead of saying, save something for you, bitch, he said something much dirtier.
Oh, I do remember that.
And actually, Tucker, when he called Caboose the team-killing fucktard, that was actually much dirtier in the script as well, but he didn't want to say it, Tucker.
He refused to say it.
And he came up with fucktard. He came up with the line.
Yeah.
He was the guy who did the ad-lib and came up with fucktard. I'm pretty sure, right? Am I
Yeah.
remembering that
That's
right?
right.
Yeah. I remember he definitely didn't want to say it. So.
He had another classic ad lib in this season, right? Which is the the line was yes, and he ad libbed no.
No, yeah. That was during the ad-libbing phase.
He refused to say yes also, right? Like he would not say yes.
I think I even was like, fine, I'll just pull a yes from somewhere else in the script. And it turned out Tucker had never said yes anywhere.
It'd be a lot easier to pull from a library of audio now, a library of things that we've said. But back then,
We could
limited scope.
Probably
Yeah.
do a whole season of from library
Recycle
stuff, right?
lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, like every season of Red vs. Blue has to end with a little bit of a wrap-up, but even a bigger cliffhanger, right?
That's how you keep them coming back.
That's right.
Love that blood right there.
Yeah, it's a lot of
So
blood.
much of it.
Well, we didn't have any blood in Sidewinder, so we had to make up for it.
We had to save it all. Our blood budget was for the
Different
film
worlds,
plan.
different
We can afford
rules,
one
man.
shot.
Different worlds, different rules.
I told you, my name isn't Caboose. My name is O'Malley.
His name is
His
O'Malley.
what?
Oh, cool. The old font is still there. Let's see if we didn't upgrade the font. That's keeping it real.
You gotta keep it old school, man.
That's keeping it real. That's the old logo too. The old like just. But I'm not a big graphic designer, so just threw that stuff together.
I believe that that Nathan just popped open the old file here and just said up-res.
Scale up.
Yeah, scale up. Sorry, you guys are
Command,
getting
Randall
cheated
Glass.
on. There's no remastered credits. Sorry about that, guys.
Interesting thing about that logo too is that I wonder if he's in the credits. He should be in the credits. Is that the guy who made the credits, or excuse me, made the logo? We originally just had a picture of a rooster and a picture of teeth for the first 6 episodes,
Oh, that's right.
and he then was a member. Here he is, logo artist Ben McSweeney. He was a member of our forum, and he had a really cool avatar of himself. And I said, "Did you draw that?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Would you mind drawing our logo for us too? Because we need to have a real logo that we've created." And he said, "Sure, no problem." And he did it for almost next to nothing. It was very generous of him to do it. And then 6 years later, he's the guy who essentially made the Red versus Blue animated test piece that we did.
Yeah, that's true.
So
You know, and he still complains about this logo. I don't know if he's
Yeah,
ever
he
brought
wants
it up
to
to you.
redraw it.
He's like, it draws me crazy. He said, I hate it. He said, it's not symmetrical.
They don't like the proportions.
Yeah.
well, we deal with the fact that it's not symmetrical as well.
That's okay.
And in fact, we're in the music credits here. The same thing happened with Nico. We had a temp theme song in there. We had a thing initially, kind of like the Drunk Tank podcast now, where we made a different song every week
Oh yeah.
for sponsors, and it just got old because I can't do music either. And then Nico contacted us and sent us the files and said, "Hey, would you like to add this music in?" And we were like, "This is awesome." And that was Blood Gulch Blues and a couple little transitional pieces that we still use to this day.
I still miss your old song though. I am blue. I fight with red.
Yeah.
Well,
Dude, look
can't
at
we all get
all of our
together
first
and be a
mods.
little purple?
Yeah, we had 5 mods there.
It's crazy.
That is crazy.
Kreitz's.
Thank
we
you,
thanked
Steve
Artie
Ballmer.
Lang.
Thanks, Steve Ballmer. God, Artie Lang? We knew who Artie Lang was back in 2003?
I guess he joined Stern in 2001, I think. That's
Wow.
crazy.
Tech TV, they're no longer around.
Is File Planet still around?
EB Games, they're not around.
File Planet's around, absolutely.
Are they?
They
I don't
hosted
know.
some of our early stuff. Gearbox. Little did we know, Gearbox ended up making Halo PC.
Yep.
So
that's
we were
true.
smart to thank him in advance. We didn't have to add him in.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Bungie's still around.
They are still around, yes.
Yes, but now they have expanded beyond this universe, so we should probably update that as well.
In this universe and the one next door.
Based on Halo 1985-2001. 1985?
I guess that's when they started working on it.
Early conceptual drawings?
I think it's a Microsoft date.
Oh, the wonderful logo.
Red versus blue.
Yay.
Okay, that was Red vs. Blue Season 1. On behalf of everyone at Rooster Teeth Productions, thank you for watching again, and thank you for all of your support.
Thank
We're ready
you.
for battle.
Love you.